Hello, and welcome to Chakira's Corner, where we discuss pertinent agenda items from the Board of Commissioners meetings with Commissioner Chakira Johnson, as well as share community updates from District 4 of DeKalb County, right here in Georgia. In addition to serving on the BOC, Commissioner Johnson is also a member of 3 county committees: the FAB Committee, which handles finance, audit and budget; the ERPS Committee, fun to say, the Employee Relations and Public Safety Committee, and PWI Committee, which handles public works and infrastructure. As many of you may already know, Shakira is a civil engineer by trade, so she brings a lot of value to those committees with her insight in those areas. Well, without further ado, hi Shakira, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Carrie?
I'm
Enjoying
doing.
this heat of that we're having already.
Yes.
It's been
Trying
hot.
to stay out of it.
Me too.
Well, today will be a little bit different since we won't have agenda items specifically that we'll be covering, but we do have some important community updates, starting with there was a proposed property tax increase. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, so we are in the fun millage rate season. This happens every year where the county commissions and other local municipal governments have to set their millage rate. We held two public hearings last Tuesday about the millage rate. And since we are not going back to what is called the rollback rate, essentially our millage rate may cause a property value or property tax bill to increase. So we had to hold three public hearings. I believe the final public hearing is July 8th, prior to the BOC meeting or during the BOC meeting, but prior to us making the final vote for the proposed millage rate. So even though we're advertising a potential property tax increase, the plan and is to hold the millage rate as it has held, looks like since 2016. So we're not increasing our millage rate overall for the general fire fund, all the funds combined that we have purview over. So the overall county total millage rate would be 20.81 mills. And a millage rate or a mill is 1/1000th of a dollar. So it's not quite 20.81%, it's 20.81 mills. But again, since we're not rolling back to what would essentially not be an increase, but holding steady with our millage rate, we had to advertise as if we were in fact raising property taxes. So I think we've talked about this on previous podcasts, but you may still see an increase in your property tax bill. But the piece that the county commissioners have control over, which is the millage rate for the county funds, we are holding steady. But if you are seeing an increase in your overall property tax bill, your property value likely increased, or you're being, it could be from, if you're in a municipality or an incorporated city, it would be dependent on whether or not those millage rates are holding steady. So there's other factors that play into this, not just what the county commission is doing, but again, the piece that we have control over, we are holding steady at, propose to hold steady at 20.81 mills. And again, that final vote will be on July 8th.
Got it. And then for anyone who does receive an increase to their bill, there's an appeals process that will start beginning on the 8th. Is that correct? And then they'll have 2 weeks to, how long do they have to appeal that?
And that is managed by our tax commissioner and I believe tax assessors. I think mostly tax commissioner's office, which is another Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Urban Johnson. So I believe they have an additional week or two, but we can probably plug in the website for that so they can get all the information they need to appeal the process and make sure they're also applying for any homestead exemptions. I think we can link in the website for the homestead exemptions, and there's also additional exemptions for seniors that can help reduce your property tax. And then because the county has what is called the e-host, that helps equalize the property taxes. So e-host is still in effect, and so you will also see e-host tax relief, which will greatly reduce your overall tax bill on the county portion of your tax bill.
Okay, good to know. Good information to have.
Mm-hmm.
So, in keeping in lockstep with the rate increases or rate changes for various services here in DeKalb County, we've talked a lot about the water rate
A
increase.
lot.
So I don't think we'll be saying anything that people haven't heard before. However, there has been an update in terms of when those rates will go into effect. My understanding is that they have been delayed. Is that correct? And can you tell us a little bit more as to why and kind of what we can expect in the future?
Yeah, so as many probably remember, in February of this year, the BOC did pass a 10 by 10 rate increase, where for the next 10 years, the rate will increase by 10% for each year for the next 10 years. So we were calling it the 10 by 10. This was a way for us to fund many of the infrastructures and consent decree projects that we need to fix here in DeKalb County that we had been ignoring for way too long. And that rate increase was actually set to start on July 1st. We're actually recording this on July 1st. And so we got word from the administration, I think late last week, that they were going to delay the rate increase. And actually, for a good reason. So, in addition to us increasing the water rates, and what you guys would be having to pay, right before we made that vote, the BOC also included some protections for ratepayers and a whole list of new protections. And one of those was an advocate group that would be able to help ratepayers who need to dispute their bill or having issues with their bills. So a whole new group that would be kind of a third party entity to help them with that. So the administration is working diligently to bring on the Urban League to fulfill that position of the water advocacy group, but that contract's not quite in place. And even though per the way the BOC voted, they could still go ahead and do the rate increase, and as long as the contract with the Urban League was in place by January 1st, we would still be in line with the intent of what the BOC approved in February. However, the administration is understanding and seeing that it is important to have that advocacy group in place at the same time that the water rate increase goes up. So the advocacy group should be in place within the next 30 to 60 days. And I think it's at that time that they will work to implement the rate increase so that they can go lock stock, at the same time. That way we have the advocacy at the same time the rate is going up. So I think that's just trying to be good stewards of our citizens' dollars, and showing that we are hearing the complaints, we're hearing the issues and the concerns, and we're working to make sure we have what we need in place to manage those concerns. So, even though we thought we would be starting on July 1st, I think it was a good decision to go ahead and make that delay. And there's just now starting to advertise that there will be a delay, so you should not be seeing an increase in your water bill for like the next month or two.
Got it. It's great to hear that DeKalb County is taking that time to make sure that these changes are implemented with those people in mind and that you're able to collaborate with that organization. I know it's been a long time coming, and I know everybody kind of wants to move that over the finish line, but doing it right is the important thing, and making sure that people are those who are perhaps going to have some difficulty paying those are not being overlooked or just kind of cast to the side. It's good to know that there's options.
There are options, and there's still current options if you're having issues right now. please continue to have your conversations with the water billing department and working with them directly to have they can adjust your bill now, even before we made those additional protections for the ratepayers. There are existing ones that if you, as long as you continue to work with them, if you're having issues, continue to answer the phone when they call, answer their emails, and communicate with them directly, then they can work with you as much as possible to make sure that they're making a bill payment that is something that is feasible for you in your particular situation.
Right, kind of meeting people where they are, since people in that situation are not a monolith, and it's different for every person.
Exactly. Yeah, they take it case by case, and they might, as in any negotiation, sometimes you start high knowing that you're going to be working down to what is actually manageable. So just keep that in mind and, work with our great employees who in those departments trying every day to meet the customers where they are.
So, speaking of some infrastructure changes going on, so South Hairston Road and the roundabout at Bermuda and Stewart did I read that correctly? They're thinking of putting in a roundabout.
Yeah, so there's actually plans in the works. I think this has been a concept of a roundabout at Bermuda and Stewart Mill Road a few years ago. So we are active, the county, I'm not taking credit in this part, but we as in the county is actively in the design phase, is my understanding. And so that project, even though it's been in the works for a couple of years, it is still actually working to fruition. Should be going to construction, I would say, in the next year or so. So still happening. Just it's been a little quiet in this more design phase of things. You're not going to really see much publicly being put out about it, but project will still be happening. And as far as South Harrison Road, we've had questions come up about Harrison. I know there's a lot of potholes. There are, the median needs to be cut, but we also received from our transportation director, Director Pelton, a list of things that the county has done in the last couple years to help try and improve traffic along Harrison and improve the safety along Harrison Road. So we really wanted to highlight those. Some of that includes additional lighting, working on the timing of some of the street lights. I think they also are working on putting up additional guardrails in specific areas. So just wanting to highlight infrastructure improvements within District 4, both Harrison Road and Bermuda and Stewart Mill Roundabout. Sometimes when it comes for infrastructure, it's not a ribbon cutting, it's not one of those sexy, glamorous items, but sometimes it's the little things that happen that you don't really necessarily notice unless you're really looking for it. Another one to highlight too is Mountain Village Drive. Not, yeah, is it Mountain Village? No, Mountain View Drive, sorry, in City of Stone Mountain, where it one side's the city, one side's the county. I've asked the transportation department to look in putting in a sidewalk along that road because we have a lot of pedestrians walking up the road to get to Memorial Drive and get to MARTA and businesses up there. Case in point, this morning there was a father and his toddler walking up the street, and it's just a dangerous road for people to be walking. So they're working on trying to get a plan together to put in sidewalks. But in the meantime, I asked for additional lighting that would help at night because there's still people walking up the road at night. And so Director Pelton did get with Georgia Power, and additional lighting has been put up on the existing power poles that were out there that didn't already have lighting. So again, another one of those infrastructure improvements that if you're not paying attention, you may have missed in District 4.
Well, that'll be great too for safety and improved visibility. I think once people are driving through, it'll become apparent to them how much of an improvement that makes. And there is a saying in
Yeah,
design that you never notice good design, but you notice the bad stuff. So I think even if people don't notice, on a subconscious level, they'll notice that, hey, I can see and I can walk and,
I can see.
and I can
I can
just
see
kind
that
of
person
move
walking
about
in the
freely.
road.
Right?
Exactly. Exactly. So just, you're right. Good design doesn't always get the notice, but it makes a big impact.
Yep, absolutely. Speaking of roadways, I also heard through the grapevine, the BOC agenda, that there might be a striping machine in our future.
Yes, surprisingly, the county is the BLC approved for the county to purchase our first striping machine, which again, infrastructure is not always sexy, but the striping, having our own striping machine will help us make sure roads are properly striped, the white lines and the little yellow lines along the road that indicates where the median is or the shoulder or the center line of the road, and can help with safety and traffic. So the county has been putting a lot of this stuff out to consultants to do, and we've been having some issues with those contracts. So a little bit of a stopgap is to have our own striping machine. So we approved that funding last week. I think it's going to take another 30 days or so for the machine to actually make it to the county, and then fleet and maintenance has to put the logo on it and do a couple things to it. So it's going to be probably another 30, 45 days before you might see the county out doing their first striping gig. But again, we actually had a couple comments about when are we going to restripe the roads? You can barely see them anymore; they fade. So the county is listening, and this is one step that they are implementing to help that situation.
Speaking of repaving roads, we had a
Hmm.
question come up recently. You recently did coffee with the commissioner at the East Central DeKalb Community and Senior Center, which had a great turnout. We had
Hmm.
a lot of fantastic,
It did.
people there asking great questions. Everybody was involved. It was a really good experience, I think. And but we did have the question come up from one of the constituents asking, and I think that you might be able to help answer this. Why do potholes come back once the road has been repaved?
Yeah, so you love it when I get a chance to nerd out. So this is me nerding
I
out.
do.
So when you repave a road, you're really just putting a new top coat on the road, right? A pothole, though, if you haven't fix what's underneath what we call the sub base. So a pothole can form for a variety of reasons. Maybe when the road was installed, there was a small defect in a certain area in the sub base because there's certain levels to the sub base. You have dirt, you have gravel, and then you'll have your layers of binder course, and then your top course. I told you I was going to nerd out. So there, your road pavement section can be anywhere from 6 inches, 8 inches, 12 inches, depending on the on how much traffic the road gets and how deep the road base needs to be. So there could be a failure or not adequately installed when initially might cause a pothole down the road. There might be a utility running under that has caused some type of compaction where things start or yeah, where things start to sink a little bit, or you might have it might be indicative of a water main or sewer main kind of failing underneath the road. So just putting a nice pretty shiny black top coat, which is what the repavement does, is not necessarily a fix to something that's underlying and causing an actual pothole. So when the county has gone out and done a repavement and you see a pothole redeveloping within 6 months, a year, 2 years, that's indicative of an underlying issue. And so that's a different crew that then comes out We have on the county's website, there's a way for you to report potholes, and that's again, a different crew comes out than a repaving crew. And sometimes it is just might need a little bit more binder course or more asphalt topping in that one specific area. But they also may need to actually go in and do like we might call a point repair, where they dig out a larger section of that area, dig down a little deeper, make sure all that area is installed properly, and then do a top coat over the top of it to kind of blend it in with the existing surrounding area and really fix the underlying problem. So again, nerding out, if you're seeing a pothole form recently after a recently repaved road, please make sure you're reaching out to our office or reaching out to the transportation or roads and drainage office and alerting someone to the pothole so we can get out there and investigate and see what might be a bigger issue. By reporting a pothole, you may be alerting the county to a larger issue that we may not have quite been aware of if you hadn't reported that pothole. There is a rating system for each road, and that's how they prioritize which roads are going to get repaved when, which is a really good question, because we get that question quite often, like, oh, my road hasn't been repaved in 10 years, but even though it hasn't been repaved in 10 years, it might be in decent condition compared to some of the other ones where you're really seeing a lot of crumbling or alligator like marks along the road, and those areas that just really need more immediate attention. So it's not quite always how long's it been since the road has been repaved. It's really the condition of the road, and they do that assessment so that they know, have an idea of how to prioritize. Because we have a lot of roads that need to get paid, and we don't quite always have the funding that we need to do that. One item that actually will be on the agenda next week, we talked about it in committee. The county gets what is called LMIG money, which is local municipal infrastructure grant, I believe. And those funds are used for repavement projects. And typically they have a match to them, but with the surplus that the state has had with some of their funds, I think we've all received our little additional funding from our tax, if you paid your taxes this year. But part of that too, the county was awarded a grant of money, and I off the top of my head, I can't remember how much it was, but that will allow us to repave a lot more roads and without a match. So that was really exciting. We got that in our committee report last week, and we should be approving that on July 8th. So more and more ways that we can fund and get infrastructure work done is always good to report on.
Absolutely. This will be good to see those roads getting repaved in the future here. Now,
Yes.
I've noticed that there was a press release that came out recently about the Urban Redevelopment Agency. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Urban Redevelopment Agency is a redevelopment agency in DeKalb County. It is made up of the CEO is the chair of the agency, and then the Board of Commissioners are the members of the redevelopment agency. So we convened last month and the other week with our first project as the Urban Redevelopment Agency. It was the purchase at 4380 Memorial Drive, which is where the tax commissioner's office is. It's also the original Home Depot location. If you've been in DeKalb County long enough, you might know that, which is really exciting. So it's about a 25-acre parcel of land that we have had our tax commissioner's office at that location for about 20 years. And we've been paying rent there, about $1 million a year plus upkeep for that whole time. So we approved, and the property actually closed, I believe, on June 25th last week. The purchase of the property technically is under the Urban Redevelopment Agency, but essentially it's still DeKalb County. So DeKalb County now owns that parcel of land. I think the final sale price is right just under $19 million. So imagine what we can do with that property. It's in District 4, which is exciting for us. It's along Memorial Drive, so that is a huge investment from the county into our district, into the Memorial Drive corridor. And essentially, the long range plan, the first plan was just to get control of the property. The long range plan is some type of redevelopment of that property, but also still including government services there. So you'll start seeing us as we move along. You'll see us having a little more detail, a little more conversations on the details of what that property might look like in the future. But it's just exciting to have our first project under the Urban Redevelopment Agency, and for it to be that big of an investment in District 4 is really exciting to me, should be exciting to our constituents, and really activate the corridor.
Absolutely. That is exciting news. I can't believe still that the county was leasing it for so long. So it just made
I had
sense.
no idea. So, and
Well,
not
that's
only were we
great,
paying, yeah,
right?
not only were we paying the lease, but we were paying for the upkeep. So we might as well have owned it this whole time. So
Right. And you said that we were leasing it for how long again?
I think like 20 years.
Whew. All right. Well, congratulations to DeKalb County and to District 4 on that. That's a win for Memorial
Yes,
Drive for sure.
it really is. It
Um,
really is.
and in keeping with improvements to Memorial Drive, um, I know some questions have come up recently from some of our constituents regarding the closing of pharmacies and that Kroger over there, which isn't necessarily in District 4, but it's right along the line, and a lot of our District 4 constituents use that Kroger, and they're going to see it go away along with I think three other Krogers here in Metro Atlanta, or at least in DeKalb County. Can you kind of explain to me, does the county have any plans for replacing those pharmacies? Or, what's the advice to people? Should they be looking forward to uh, new grocery stores somewhere else? Or what sort of insight can you give us about these closures?
Right. So, yes, there's the Kroger City Center, I think it's called, which is on Memorial Drive, but outside District 4. It's actually in District 3. It came out on the news that Kroger overall, I think, is closing. I think it's like 60 Krogers nationwide, and two or three of them are in DeKalb County, but that is the closest one to us. And it is a critical location for that area. And, we lost our Kroger on Memorial in Hairston, I don't know, over 10 years ago, I think now. So what we're finding is large swaths of DeKalb County has been what we call a food desert, which is, not having easy access to grocery stores and local food or healthy food. And so we were already in that condition. So closing yet another grocery store just makes the situation worse. So I don't know that we have any exact plans yet on how to combat this issue, but I know it's conversations that I've been having with our economic development experts in the county, which include like our Chief Development Officer, Jacob Vallow, our Decide DeKalb, which is our economic development arm for the county, as well as our long range planners that also are county employees. So I know I personally have had conversations with each of these entities about these situations, and we're still working to put our heads together to see how we can combat these issues. I know another thing really hitting District 4 is the closing of the pharmacies and the drugstores. Walgreens has closed on Memorial Drive, as well as I think three other CVS stores within our district have all closed in the last 6 months or so. So that's leaving us with limited places to shop outside of a dollar store. Or, we have a Walmart, we have an outdated Ingles, and, Food Depots and stuff like that. But we're really getting short on drugstores and to go into, as well as the grocery stores. And it's not just in our district. It's not indicative of high crime in our area, which some people do like to say, well, it's because of crime, but it's not necessarily because of crime, because District 4 doesn't necessarily have higher crime than other areas. But you're seeing these nationwide companies coming out and closing multiple stores throughout the country. So again, it's not just a problem we're having here in District 4, but it is a problem we're having in District 4 and something that we need to figure out. And I think it's just kind of showing a way how we have changed how we shop in general. I know I'm guilty of this, of doing online shopping and not necessarily going in to the traditional brick and mortar stores. And so they have been having to respond to that, and change their business model, which is impacting our communities. And so I think one thing that we can do proactively is we need to be visiting the stores that we still have, and spending our dollars and making certain that these corporations are aware of the financial impact and economic impact that we have in our districts and our neighborhoods, because those are the numbers that mean the most to them. So we need to be doing what we can to utilize the stores that we still have. And in the meantime, like I said, we are actively working to attract maybe a smaller local brand, and maybe not as big as a Kroger or a Publix, but a Lidl or a Aldi's or something, something smaller, but still have really good prices, still have really good product, but might be a better fit for our area as our area is growing and changing.
Indeed. Um, do you know if uh, those properties are owned by those companies? And I ask because I know if they own those properties and they move out, if they don't work with the county, we're very limited on what we can do to not only maintain those areas, but to redevelop them.
Right. So I'm not certain about, I think the drugstores, I believe, are owned by the corporations. I'd have to really look at each one and figure that out. But I think from the conversations and news stories I was seeing on the Kroger that's closing on further down Memorial Drive, um, I'm not certain that Kroger owns that whole property because it is in a larger shopping center. And I know there's been news stories about that one in particular because that Kroger has a couple other businesses within it. And they are also, when that Kroger closes, they're going to have to close their doors. And, um, I think one news story about the barbershop down there mentioned how, he still has his rent still due, but he doesn't have no communication on what he can do to keep his doors open. So those poor small business owners are having to scramble because this large corporation has made this decision. So it has a trickle down impact on our community in a great way.
Yeah, yeah. To your point earlier, some of the things that we can do in terms of shopping at brick and mortar shops is support local. You know, we have plenty of ma and
Support
pop
local.
shops, and it can be really tempting because of pricing and because of the way that the economy is to go straight to, Walmart or Target or, some of these bigger box stores. And meanwhile, we do have some wonderful ma and pop shops that have been around for a long time that we could support. Maybe they charge a couple dollars more, but you don't have to drive, an extra 15 minutes to get wherever. So that really helps to support, and help grow local businesses. And I think mom and pop shops too are a great way to showcase the flavor of a community too, because it's run by people who are from that community, and it's something to celebrate and to share with people who come to visit. So hopefully we will see some cooperation with some of the larger big box stores, and then we can get some of a good mixture of mom and pop and larger big box stores kind of commingling in that area, more people out shopping in person rather than
Yes.
online. I understand DeKalb History Center has a wonderful exhibit that's going to be opening up July 25th. What can you tell us about that?
So I have not seen the exhibit yet, but they are doing an exhibit on Memorial Drive, and it's not just Memorial Drive outside 285. I believe it's all of Memorial Drive and highlighting the businesses, the people, the culture, the community of Memorial Drive. So District 4, our office was a sponsor. One of the sponsors for the program. Excited to see it again. It's coming out debuting July 25th at the DeKalb History Center. It should be really a really good exhibit because Memorial Drive is just a cultural hub in DeKalb County. It goes into Fulton County too, into the city of Atlanta. So you can see all walks of life along Memorial Drive, different economic statuses, different cultures, different nationalities. So I'm really excited to see what they've pulled together and just how it will showcase and highlight the diversity that is Memorial Drive.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. And I hope people find it inspirational and will maybe get people more excited about getting involved in these revitalization efforts, because it takes a village, right?
Hmm.
So
It
we need
does.
everybody to be excited and to get involved. I do want to plug a couple things here. You recently had your inaugural back to school preparedness event, Shakira's Cookout. How did
Hmm.
that go?
Yeah, Shakira's Cookout was June 28th, this past weekend. It was a hot day, but we had a huge amount of people come out. We were giving out school supplies, uniform, polo shirts for the kids. We had fire department, police department, the school board was there with their STEM truck. We had public health. You could get your health screenings. We had hamburgers, hot dogs, fried fish. We live music, a DJ. We just had so much going on, and the turnout was absolutely amazing, especially for it to be our inaugural event. We're just really excited to be able to provide that to the community, to be able to provide services and just to give back, but also do it in a fun way was our goal. So I think we found it to be a really successful event. It is going to be our signature event every year. So we're looking forward to next year's event as well. And again, just so excited and grateful for everyone, not only those who participated in the day, but those who made the day possible. We had so many partners on this, but I think our biggest partners were Department of Human Services and especially Youth Services here in DeKalb County, and then our Parks and Recs department. They were just phenomenal teams to work with, and an overall extension of the District 4 team. Could not have gotten any of this done without them in the planning stages and the early stages as well as on the day of, and then just all the different partners who helped buy hot dogs or sponsor the ICs or whatever they sponsored, buying school supplies. We had so many entities helping. I will also shout out Commissioner Ted Terry from District 6, who helped sponsor some of the items for the day. But we also had a lot of fun. Me and him, we had our aprons on and had our moment at the grill, battling out who could flip
I
a
was going
hot
to
link
say.
better. But we had to have some fun on the commission as well. So it was a really good day.
Yeah, and haircuts. I don't know if you
And
mentioned
haircuts. I
haircuts,
forgot about the
and polo.
haircuts.
There's just so
Yeah,
much.
there
It
was
was just, it
so
was,
much.
when you were putting together a preparedness event, you were not kidding. You really want people to be
Yeah, we were trying
prepared.
to touch all the bases, and we know summer just started, but July and towards the end of July, you're going to see so many back to school events. We kind of wanted to get out early, ahead of the fray, so we could get a lot of people to come, and I think our plan worked out. So again, we look forward to doing this again next year.
Yeah, and having it earlier in the summer helps parents and guardians just kind of check that off their to-do list. And they're not, having to, try and figure out last minute or right towards the beginning of school to try and figure out what they need. And then this gives them that opportunity to get what they need. And then if there's any outlying items that they need to secure, then they can do that a little bit closer to the beginning of school. And they can just focus on relaxing and having fun and enjoying the DJ and the
Yes,
live music.
exactly. And we had some fun. We had some dancing, so it was a good day.
Yeah. Looking forward to the one next year. So everybody,
Yes,
please mark your calendars now, June of next year. Be at our
June of
Shakira's
next year.
Cookout. Come
Yep.
out for some great food and live entertainment. And then just in closing, I did also want to plug, you've got a community breakfast, the Community Connection, coming up in July. Is that right? And who are the special guest speakers?
Yes, so our community connection breakfast will be July 19th, starting at 9 a.m. We will be feeding you really good food. Our guest speakers will actually have two this time. We will hear from our new director of code enforcement, Tanza Clark. She started a month or so ago, so we'll be hearing from her. And then we also will have Jacob Vallow, who I mentioned earlier is the Chief Development Officer for DeKalb County, and that is a new position that CEO Lorraine Cochran Johnson created when she came into office. So he is kind of the I mentioned also all the different entities in DeKalb County that kind of touch economic development. So he's kind of a main central point that kind of can has his hands around all of economic development and all those different entities and what's happening here in DeKalb County. So it'll be really exciting to hear from him and what his vision is for District 4 and what he's hearing about, what's happening in District 4 and what might be coming in District 4.
Yes, two individuals that are super excited about being a part of taking DeKalb to that next level, especially Mr. Vallow getting out there in person and walking around and getting his eyes and his hands on everything. So that'll be exciting to see what they
Yes.
come up with.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Because our D4 team went on a tour of Memorial Drive with Mr. Vallow. He was actually driving us around in his trucks he is intimately seen, and then he's been out there again. So he's intimately seen Memorial Drive, and he wanted to see it for himself so he could, know what he's working with and know the issues and the challenges and the opportunities. So excited to hear what he has to say.
Because it's one thing to receive information from our constituents and even pictures, but it brings a whole sheds a whole new light once you're actually out there in person and you can see it for yourself. And he really seems to take that to heart.
Yes, he does.
All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. Links for the items we discussed here today can be found down in the video description. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for your time today. If anyone should have any questions, how can they reach you?
Yes, if you have any questions, probably the easiest way is to email me. My email is cjjohnson2 at dekalbcountyga.gov. But you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram under the handle of at Commissioner Chakira Johnson, or I am also on Blue Sky or X as at Commissioner CJJ. Please also consider subscribing, say that 5 times fast, to the YouTube channel here. If you do find this podcast helpful and you want to know whenever a new podcast is released, just hit the bell icon so you can receive those notifications in the future. And again, I just appreciate everyone tuning in, and we look forward to sharing more information in our next episode. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Thanks again, Commissioner Johnson, and thank you everyone for joining us. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay healthy.
Engaged.
Stay engaged.
See you guys.
All right. See you guys.